Most of us have some secret desires about the things we'd like to do in bed. I've always fancied smearing him with cream and licking it off, but I've never been brave enough to tell him. In fact, 2/3 of the people in our national survey on sex told us that there are things they'd like to do with their partner, but they're too shy to bring them up. So tonight, we're looking at how to go that little bit further in bed. It's time to drag those inhibitions out of the closet.
God, it's amazing what some couples do in bed.
Oh, yes? Like what?
Well, putting on complicated underwear and smearing each other's privates with avocado pear seems to be a big favourite.
God, the stuff they put in women's magazines now. I'm only glad my mother isn't alive to see it. She'd have spent a fortune.
There's nothing wrong with it. Honestly, you've got so many inhibitions about sex.
No, I haven't.
All right, then. You tell me the sexiest thing that you can think of. Your favourite fantasy.
No, I couldn't. No. It's private.
Oh, I see. It must be pretty kinky if you don't want to talk about it.
It's not kinky.
Go on, then. Tell me about it. Go on. I may be able to help.
Help? You offering to act out my sexual fantasy?
As long as it doesn't involve pain, my sister, or livestock.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, come on. Forget your inhibitions for 5 minutes. Come on, it'll be fun.
Right, you're on. French maids.
French maids? What, as in hello, hello?
Yes. You know, the skimpy little outfit and the skirt, and silk stockings and the high-heeled shoes. I've always found that a real turn on.
All right. Let's give it a try.
What now?
Well, why not? I'll go and get ready in the bathroom, and I'll see you in the bedroom. Darling?
Sweat.
Agony eggs, sex books, all the experts tell us to be more open with our lover, to communicate our desires more, but that's not easy, is it? We're all shy about some things. Yeah, me and all. I've come here to grab a few people while they're feeling all hot and steamy, to tell us about some of their more inhibited moments.
I find it impossible to talk about what I want sexually. I mean, just impossible. I don't know the words. I don't know what to say.
Talking about it. I don't really like talking about sex. I don't mind doing the actual thing, but talking as well. That's one of the things I really do hate.
But, you know, when it comes to telling a man or asking a man, you know, put your hands there, do this, do that, do the other. I mean, literally, I just clam up. I cannot think of the words.
I think there are many words that you find difficult to use. I think there's some words which are, I don't know why. I think it's a lot of it may have to do with what's decent, what is traditionally decent.
I think most of my inhibitions have to do with the messiness of sex. I can't stand, for example, having sex with my period. I can't stand the thought of all the blood and gore going all over the sheets.
I was brought up thinking sex is dirty. It's something you keep in your own home. You don't talk about it. I never talk about it with friends. I think women have got more of a thing to go with other women. They talk about it. They talk about their sexual experiences and all that. Men tend not to.
I was frightened of the size. I was frightened of the sperm. I was frightened of the taste. I was frightened of him. I was frightened of my parents. I was frightened of everything.
I don't like women actually seeing me in the flesh for a few months at least, in the light. The average willy doesn't look good.
Inhibitions is often a way that men describe behaviour in women that it's like when you're not doing what he wants you to do, you know, he tells you you're inhibited. So he's sort of like maybe at some point pushing his head down towards, my head down towards his dick and saying, you know, give me a blowjob. And I don't want to do that. So I get told I'm inhibited.
Some inhibitions are there for a very good reason. I mean, for instance, if you're shy about undressing in front of your partner, well, you know, maybe you want to get rid of that inhibition, but you don't exactly want to run out in the street and strip naked in front of everybody. Fine, you keep that shyness. But I think a lot of people definitely are made unhappy by the rules and strictures that they have set in the back of their minds, like, you know, don't make love in the light, with the light on, you know, don't strip off in front of your partner. And they would actually be made a lot happier by being able to loosen these a little bit in themselves.
I used to be very much sort of sex with the lights out and under the sheets and under the covers and nobody can see me naked, and that's, over the years, it's gone. And I think a lot of that has to do with being relaxed with somebody and getting to know them very well, and the fact that he's very appreciative. And now I'm prancing around the house naked all the time. You know, to the great delight of our neighbours and the postman.
If you want to get rid of some of your inhibitions, if you want to get rid of them, obviously there are ways to do so. Little by little. Test yourself a little bit. Just try a little bit. For instance, if you're shy about stripping off in front of your partner in the light, with the lights on, well, tonight just leave the hall door just a little bit open so there's a little bit of light coming in. In a couple of nights' time, put a candle there. Try it little by little. Write a letter to your partner about what you'd actually like to do. If you can't tell them face to face, write a letter. Look for things like articles. Television programmes like this. Say to your partner, what do you think about that? If you can't actually come out straight and say, I'd like to try that, say, well, what do you think about that? And get the conversation going.
Hello. I'm here to talk to you about a group of people who are often shunned by our society. A minority who are often denied access to pubs or restaurants simply because of their disabling handicap. I'm talking about those unfortunate enough to have been born without any inhibitions. You've seen them, I'm sure. The couple getting carried away on the crowded commuter train, the woman stripping off at the rock concert, the man playing pocket billiards in the bus queue. This clinic, opened in 1989 by its patron, the Duchess of York, caters to people from all walks of life. Rugby players, used car salesmen, Frank Boff, all have benefited from its unique combination of traditional and modern methods of treatment. One person who they've helped is John. John, what made you realise that you needed help?
B-jams.
Pardon?
They videoed me in the frozen foods, performing a lewd act with a cape on.
You were dressed as Batman?
No. Cape on. A large chicken.
I see. What happened when you arrived at the clinic?
Well, firstly, all patients undergo several weeks of intensive shaming.
And what does that involve?
Well, you get undressed and you have your private parts ridiculed by a trained psychiatric nurse twice a day for a fortnight, or until you stop getting erections.
But now you're completely cured and you're ready to re-enter normal society again.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, you see, the uninhibited can be helped, but it does take money. Just £100 will provide a complete day's supply of the drugs needed by the doctors at this clinic. Another 100 buys the drugs needed for the patients. So please, send anything you can to me, Tony Robinson, the Society for the Chronically Uninhibited, David Mellor House, Chippendales Road, Middlesex, FU2 6T9.
Is it possible to have no inhibitions at all? Well, we'll soon find out. I'm off to talk to Ken and Beverly Bates, a couple who reckon they've got no hang-ups.
What are the advantages of being uninhibited?
Because we know we're never going to offend each other, for one thing. Right. We can say, do, think, honestly and openly.
Has there ever been an idea from one that, to begin with, you said, you know, hang on a minute, I'm not going to show me bum to the neighbours, or...
No, it wasn't the eye. You're going to say it wasn't that someone to the eye. I mean, it was, again, a lack of knowledge. Bev likes to spank occasionally. Now, I've never spanked anybody in my life. How do I know how to start? You know, I mean...
sort of doing it, like, did that hurt?
Well, I don't know. What do you want? What do you need? You know, but again, you learn through, if you like, practice. But because we've got a good relationship, we can talk about it, say, is that right, is that wrong, or whatever. You know what you like at the end of the day, you know, I mean... So you've just got to learn. I mean, you've got to go through it. But again, it's whereas other couples would not do that, and they just wouldn't. I mean, they would get to that stage, they might think they want a good spanking or whatever. They would just never do it because it might shock the partner, or it might, you know, I mean, we'll be on the telly or whatever and talk about it. It doesn't bother us because it's quite normal and natural. I mean, we don't hurt anybody. We don't involve anybody else. We don't hurt anybody else. What we do is between us, and it's good fun. It's just fun. I mean, you know, we can laugh, as I say, about anything and everything.
How does being uninhibited affect your relationship?
Being uninhibited doesn't just open up the sex. I mean, it opens every aspect of life. It means that you're honest, you're open, there's no jealousies, you can talk about anything, you can say anything.
Were both of you always uninhibited?
Oh, no, Ken.
Not completely.
I really did try to sort of bring him out. Perhaps it was me, I wanted to rush everything. I wanted to, you know, say, well, I can do this and, you know, everything's fine. And, I mean, I would walk around Saver Centre, I'd fling my arms around and say, God, I love you. And he'd stand there and say, don't do that, please don't do that. You know what I mean? I think, why not? I mean, you know, I want to get him, you know, sort of buy the frozen chickens. I mean, so what's wrong with that? I mean, I just can't see anything wrong in it.
Having inhibitions might be a bit of a nuisance, but you can still enjoy sex. But some are so severe that they just put a stop to everything.
Many women have a tremendous inhibition about intercourse. They're terrified of the idea of penetrative sex, and this isn't their fault at all. They simply cannot help it. But if any approach is made at all to their vaginas, the muscles around their vaginas immediately contract down like a mouth saying, no, no way. And this means that intercourse will be either impossible, or if it is possible, very painful indeed. And that's an extremely common problem, and it's called vaginismus.
I had all sorts of questions going through my mind. Am I frigid? Is there something the matter with me organically? Am I really a lesbian? And I can't admit this to myself, and this is my way of showing myself that I am. What on earth is the matter? I didn't know. The situation is that I feel as though my vagina is terribly small and vulnerable. I feel as if I'm still a child down there, and that it will get torn when I was a little girl, my mother used to warn me not to speak to strangers, and I used to say, why? And she said, because they will harm your delicate tissues. And so that's the association with sex, I have with sex. I've had it on and off for years and years, for most of my adult life, with kind of remissions after I'd had therapy. I mean, I'm not a virgin, and I've gone through phases of being quite promiscuous and having quite a lot of penetrative sex, but there have been periods when I've, for some reason, have lapsed into very severe vaginismus and couldn't, you know, just couldn't have sex even if I was feeling aroused.
Vaginismus is usually an emotional condition, but it can be triggered off by physical factors, for instance, having an infection in the vagina, or perhaps having a painful scar in your vagina after childbirth.
I do get aroused, I really do. I'm not frigid, and I think that should be stressed. And I really do want to get into relationships with men and have wild and abandoned sex, but somehow that the spirit may be willing, the flesh is weak or tense or whatever.
If you've got vaginismus, don't despair, because it can be treated in most cases. Best thing to do is to go along to a family planning clinic where they're very used to seeing vaginismus cases all the time. Take your partner with you, and a woman doctor there will teach you a special system of relaxation exercises which should help you to overcome this condition.
OK, it's time to get to grips with oral sex. It's something we're all dead shy of at the beginning of our sex lives. But in our survey, 3 out of 4 people have tried it, and a third of those have said they'd like oral sex more frequently. Practically no one said they'd like it less often. So, if you fancy the idea but don't feel brave enough to try it, or if you do it and would just like to brush up on your technique, come this way for the Good Sex Guide to Good Oral Sex. If you was to advise a young girl who was oral sex virgin, how would she start?
I think she'd start by just feeling comfortable being close to her cock and finding out for herself and learning how to respond to what he's saying, asking him if it's nice and telling him to say afterwards what was the best thing about it, so she learns, gains confidence. The best way to be good at something is to be encouraged and know what you're doing by the encouragement. So repartee is important, and she can just play around with it, do what she wants. No rules, you know, really.
To start going down on a man, I like to approach from either coming up from his feet or coming down from his mouth, wherever it's starting off. I like to explore the areas around the penis, not just the penis itself, which is his balls, and the area just underneath it, between his thighs, is really sensitive. Sometimes up on the groin area, just around the pubic hair, that's really nice. I mean, the whole body's there to have fun with and to explore.
I always try and actually either very gently say, you know, well, it's a bit hard or it's a bit soft, or actually it's really nice if a girl asks me, you know, am I doing this all right? Because it's a nice feeling as well, because obviously then she wants to make you happy.
I always hold the base. Well, usually I hold the base because that means that I can stay on top of the situation, basically. It means that I can hold him down if he's starting to thrust too much, because I don't want to be in a position where I'm choking, because I want to enjoy this as much as he does. It also means that you can judge where you're at. You can feel the throbbing in the vein of his penis, so you've got more idea of when he's about to come.
If you're worried about, you know, him coming in your mouth, then tell him that and make sure that he doesn't do it straight away.
you know, maybe you'll like it later, but, you know, not the first time. And get him to help you, you know.
I've found the most sensitive part of the penis to be the part at the head, at the front, facing the woman, where the penis is sort of shaped like this. The head is joining the shaft. Men I've been with have described it as what they think the clitoris is like for a woman.
You know, looking around the clitoris is sometimes just as nice as actually paying attention to the clitoris itself, because sometimes too much pleasure on a single point can be too much.
I feel confident enough to be able to sort of move his head away and sort of redirect him a bit just by moving my hips or whatever. So I can take the attention away from the clitoris sometimes if I feel that it's going to get too much. But it is such an amazing hot spot that it really has to be treated with care.
And the worst thing also is if you've got a very dry mouth or you're nervous or something and the girl's very dry there as well, to actually have like a rasping effect, like a cat's tongue, what you need is a bit of saliva or something else there to lubricate you.
I like a lot of movement between my clitoris and my vagina. I like him to explore. The rim of the vagina is the most sensitive part of it, so if you're ignoring that, then you're ignoring something that, you know, you could be getting a lot of enjoyment out of.
John?
Yes, Mary?
It's been a lovely day, hasn't it? How's your wardrobe?
Yeah, very pleasant, thank you.
John, do you think that this is what most people do on their wedding anniversary?
I wouldn't like to speculate.
John, do you remember our wedding night?
Yeah.
It was just like this, really, wasn't it, John? Only 5 years ago. I mean, if you like, as it's our anniversary, we could sleep together.
Will that be in my wardrobe or yours?
I'm not sure. What do you think?
I don't know. Any transfer either of myself to your wardrobe or you to mine would involve one of us stepping outside the closet-like fastness of the clothing receptacles we currently occupy, thereby exposing our nakedness to one another, which isn't on, frankly.
Perhaps you're right, John. I mean, we have come a long way. Well, you have, all the way down the landing from the airing cupboard in the spare room. Perhaps on our next anniversary, if we feel ready for it.
Mary, I found a knot hole here.
Have you, John?
Mary, shall we use it?
If you think so.
There we are. OK, Mary, bend over.
OK, if you say so. I'm bent over.
How was it for you, Mary?
Sorry, John, I can't hear you. I've got something really strange in my ear.
Coming next week? Coming too soon. The Good Sex Guide gives you the ins and outs of making things last. Good night.